it's Jokina with Modern Homemakers, and today I'm going to show you how to make cloth napkins. Why? Because mine are really ugly and threadbare and falling apart because we've had them our entire marriage. Some of my napkins came from my mom when she got married. They're like polyester, disgusting, and stained. They're not full of holes though because they're never going to die, but we're going to let them go anyway. Anyway, it's super easy, and I have a pattern you can print off, but let me unfurl one here. Just a spoiler alert, when you're making cloth napkins yourself, you're going to have kind of an ugly side that doesn't look very pretty, and then you've got your pretty side. But when you set out your table with your napkin wreath, it's still going to look beautiful, so don't worry about it. You need to go print off the free pattern from Modern Homemakers, and it's actually 4 separate pieces, A, B, C, D. So that's how you tape them together. A goes next to B, and C and D. And in all honesty, they're exactly identical, these two halves. So if you mix them up, it's probably still gonna be fine. Anyway, I have a thing of fabric that I had to cut myself. I have more than a yard, but I cut it down to a yard just so I can show you how cool this is. So if you're cutting your own fabric and you want to cut it just down to a yard, it's going to be 42 inches wide by 36 inches long. And this will make 4 napkins. So I washed it and dried it already, which you want to do so it does all its shrinking ahead of time. And I've already got it folded in half along the width, and then I'm going to fold it in half again this way. Be really careful, align everything up. We're going to take our hands and smooth, make sure we get rid of any hidden folds of fabric in there, and then we're going to fold once this way. And even if you don't get it exactly perfect, you know, maybe one of your napkins ends up being a little bit smaller. And you don't have to have skeleton napkins if you don't want, but I bought this fabric for my husband when he used to be cool and wear skeleton stuff, and now he won't do it, so he's going to eat off those napkins because I don't waste fabric. Anyway, where it says place on fold is where I have, it's actually doubled and quadruple folded here. And if this is making you nervous, all this folding, just cut out one napkin at a time. No one's gonna know. I like to get my work done quickly though, so I'm gonna line up with the edge. And this is where it's kind of crazy, so I'm gonna push as much to this fold as possible because you can see not all these layers go all the way over. So that way I don't have to worry about not having enough fabric over there. Basically just a big rectangle, so you wouldn't necessarily even have to have a pattern, but I want all my napkins to be nice and uniform sizes. This is a great beginner sewing project, and you don't have to have a fancy sewing machine. My fancy sewing machine died, and I'm using like the $100 Walmart special here right now until I can save up for my nice one again. So I'm hard on sewing machines. Okay, this side I'm going to save for last, where the fold is, and all you're going to do is cut down. If you have a rotary cutter, you can use that, and I'm jealous. I don't have one. Bat my eyelashes at my husband and hint, sweetie, I don't have a rotary cutter. And I need one. I really do. So, for my birthday, or Mother's Day, or if you ever make me really mad, instead of flowers, I want a rotary cutter. Okay? Now I got that out there in the open. Oh, I'm gonna cut this side too. do not cut the side that says place on fold, or you're going to have some small napkins. And on this side, I'm just going to run my scissors down this fold, because for me that lined up perfectly. Okay. Remember, this is actually 4 napkins. You might need 8 napkins. You might only want 2 of every color. So you can just cut 1 out at a time if you want. I like to do things in mass. So when you open this up, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to just show you how to sew 1 of them. Warning, what I'm about to show you may seem shocking. Proper etiquette for a napkin is to go spend an hour at an ironing board, and I just don't roll that way. So if you want, you can go to an ironing board and roll it and iron it under, like, I don't know, is that a 1/4 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch? Yeah. Basically as narrow as you can get it to sew. But you could also pin this, but I'm not going to do either. Da, da, da. So I'm gonna finger fold it just as narrow as you can handle it, because then your napkin gets to be bigger. If you have to fold it even this far, I mean, you're just gonna have to fold it that far again. So try not to go too wide. So folding it under. And we're gonna line up right with the needle. So for me, that's in the center of the eye. See how that's in the center there? And we're just gonna do a straight stitch. So I'm not going to pin it or anything. I'm just gonna kind of fidget with it as I sew. But it's totally okay to pin that or iron it. I mean, if you iron it, your napkin's gonna look even better than mine. So go ahead and show me up. I'm fine with that. Yeah, that must be uneven or something. Cut that thread, and we're going to fold it. We're turning the corner here. We're going to fold that over. See how I folded that? That's the one we just did. And you're not going to be able to go in the next row right up to the edge, but you should still be able to handle it. But if your sewing machine's freaking out over the doubled thickness there, just, you know, push it back and don't go right up to the edge. But it should be fine at this point. And you're just trying to sew in the very middle of that. You can see I am not even focusing on being perfectly straight. Because you're not really going to see this when you're all said and done. And the same thing all the way around. 2 more times. You're gonna fold it and then sew. So I'll be back in a minute. I'm coming up on the last bit here. You can see this is the last side. This one's already been done, and I'm right here. And it's just the same as everything else. I'm gonna fold this over and sew right over the end. Cutting the threads. Now at this point you have some options. Essentially what we're going to do is just fold this over and sew again. But if you look, let me show the ones I've already done. I had some fun with it, and I did like some decorative stitches. You can see that's like a scalloped edge. So you could just sew a straight stitch right here, but I find using a decorative stitch masks when I don't sew completely straight. It's like a secret weapon for if you don't want to sit there and go really slow and make sure everything's perfectly lined up with your needle yada, yada, yada. So I'm gonna do the scalloped edge again because I really like it. So turn into that. And once again, even the cheapest of sewing machines have decorative stitches on them. So, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep the ugly side of the fabric facing up, and we're gonna fold over, and we're gonna top stitch. I mean, if I wanted to, I could switch to a red, which you would probably see even more at this point, and do that. Now, this is a cheaper sewing machine, so it doesn't like all this thickness at this point. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna skip like the first inch, and I'm gonna put this in the sewing machine and get a real close up here, Trav. And you can see I've got like an inch hanging out the back here. See this inch out the back behind the foot here? And that is so that I don't have to fight it. And other than that, I am gonna line this up with the right hole of the presser foot. So the fabric is lined up right with the right hole of the presser foot. And I'm just gonna start, you wanna make sure you fold this over enough that it covers all the fabric from the stitch before. And we're gonna start sewing. Don't push it, because if you're doing the decorative stitch, it's gonna take longer. And you don't want to pull, or it could make your fabric wavy and stretched out. So just let it take its time and do what it needs to do. And it's okay that I'm sewing upside down, because you can see it's still, and this is what we've done already. It's not showing very well. It's still really cute. You can see the waves in there in the light, just the wave of the special stitch. So I'm gonna go all the way to the end and turn. And this is slow, so I'll come back in a second. I'm gonna make sure I sew all the way like past the end. That's all the way up to the end. See, it went all the way across. And then the same thing when I turn, I'm gonna fold. You can see all the decorative stitches in there. I'm gonna fold, and I'm gonna put it like an inch behind, and we're gonna sew those last. So put it like an inch behind the presser foot, and that way it doesn't get caught and make a big knot. So that all the way around. So you'll sew all the way to the end, but when you start, you skip like the first inch. I'll be back once I've done all the sides. Now we're gonna take a moment and just trim all those threads all the way around. You're gonna make a few more threads before we're done, but we don't wanna sew over them, and it's harder to pick them out at that point. And now I'm gonna show you how to deal with all these ends that you have left open because you didn't wanna make a big knot. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna turn it over, and we're gonna sew the other way. So make sure your bobbin thread is the exact same as your top thread, or you'd notice this. And you're gonna overlap just a little bit with where you left off. And make sure your pattern's gonna go the same way if you're doing the decorative stitch. And I'm just gonna go sew right on top, and it's not gonna give me any problems. And you might need to give a little bit of guidance to it once it gets that thick. But you can see, you can't even tell where I was. And even if there is a little bit of a break in your pattern, I doubt people are gonna be wiping their faces and going, oh my, the pattern in the decorative stitching breaks a little there. They're gonna go, oh my goodness, who has skeleton napkins? It's not even Halloween. That's what they're gonna do. I don't know if I'm even gonna just use these for Halloween because they're so adorable, and I'm a dork and I totally wanna use these every day. So do that to all your ends, and then I'm gonna show you real quick, I'm not gonna do that right now, just how to really quick fold these. So fold it over, and then fold in half. And I just think everything is beautiful when you roll it. So we're gonna roll them. And even if you didn't sew it perfectly and your lines aren't perfectly straight, you're gonna have one adorable napkin. I mean, can you buy a napkin that cute? I haven't seen them in the store, maybe online. So whatever your kitchen colors are, whatever just unique variety of colors that you have in your dishes, you can do whatever you want to go with it. I mean, how cute would this be to put in your child's lunch instead of a nasty little paper napkin that's going to get wet and disintegrate all over their food. I mean, they could even use this. Okay, mommy sends you a napkin, and they could lay this out on the yucky table that's not even clean at school and put their food right on top of it and then bring it home and you wash it. So anyway, we use cloth napkins every day. They are not just for fancy dining. So I hope you enjoyed that fast, easy cloth napkin project, and get sewing. Don't be afraid to get started.